Hey everyone, and welcome to the final little subtopic from this course that we're going to finish up on. We're going to do two videos on this idea of inequalities. Now, the textbook I'm working through lists this as an extension topic, so your school may not be doing this early, but I thought since it's in the textbook, I might as well just give you guys at least a little bit of an insight into inequalities. And in the next video, we'll talk a little bit about solving these because we treat them quite similarly to regular equations. So the techniques, these ideas of solving systematically, they're going to help us a lot in terms of working with these inequalities. But first, we have to define what an inequality is. Now, I've written two things up here on the left, x equals 10 and x, and this symbol here, which some of you may remember from previous videos, this means greater than. Let me write that here in little quotations. This means greater than. And we'll define these and talk about this a lot more, so don't worry too much just yet. Now, this thing at the top, this first thing, this has an equal sign. Now, this is what we call an equation, right? We've been working through these for a very long time. What this basically tells us is that this side is the same as this side. There is an equality there. When we talk about equality in numerous senses, we just mean the same, right? So what we mean here is just that the left-hand side, LHS, and the right-hand side, RHS, are the same. I'll put in brackets, equal, or this is what we think of as equality. That one is equal to the other. Now, this particular thing here, and that's, sorry, before we even go to that, it's important to note, this is telling us, the top one, an identity of x. This is telling us that the value of x is going to be exactly 10. What tells us that it's exactly 10? This bad boy here, this equals sign, tells us that the left-hand side is the same as the right-hand side. So x is 10 here. Now, this particular thing here, now my first one's an equation. This is what we call an inequality. You can see the left-hand side is not the same as the right-hand side. The information that's being told to us here is that the left-hand side, the left-hand side is greater than the right-hand side. So anything in this particular form, and we'll discuss the different types of forms, this is what we call an inequality. So let's write here, the left-hand side is different to the right-hand side. These are not equal. And these are, in fact, not equal, unequal. So these are unequal, and this is an inequality. Because it's communicating a different bit of information. It's telling us that x is greater than 10. So x can be 11, 22, 1042, 36.5. It doesn't really matter. It's any number. The information this is communicating is that x is any number greater than 10. That is what we're talking about here. Now, let's just define what all the different inequality symbols we can get and what they mean. Now, this thing here, we talked about that before. This means greater than. So a number bigger than the other. And we read this as the number on the left of it is bigger than the number on the right. So the position of these numbers matters. So we can say x is greater than 10. We can also say 10 is less than x. And we'll show you that in just a second. This symbol, from this perspective, means less than. This is a number, the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right. Or the number on this pointy bit is less than this bigger number. Now, there's a couple more. We have this one here, and that means greater than or equal to. So it's greater than or equal to. So a number here is greater than or equal to a number here. And in the same way, from the other perspective, this one here means less than or equal to. That is what all of these symbols mean. Now let's look at how we could represent this, right? If we thought of the first time we got introduced to numbers, we looked at this on a number line, right? So, for example, and so let's just quickly look at a way we can just show each of these pieces of information. Just an example from each. So greater than, we can write for an example that, for example, 5 is greater than 2. That's a context that we could use this particular thing in. We can also say for less than, 2 is less than 10. Greater than or equal to, we can say, for example, 7 is greater than or equal to 7 because we only need one of these. It's greater than or equal to. So this is showing equal to. It represents 1/2 of this particular thing. Whereas this one, we can say maybe 2 is less than or equal to 5. In this case, it is less than. We're not looking at equal to. But this thing essentially, if you look at this it sort of looks like an equal sign. So that's how we can kind of remember this. We can find a little equal sign in my symbol. And as I said, the bits of information only have to cover one of these things. Up here, we looked at one that was equal to, and here we looked at one that was less than. We only need one of the two. Now let's just look at how we could show this bit of information on a number line, because this is how we're going to be using it in the future. So if I took, for example, a number line and I wanted to show x is greater than or equal to 5. I draw a number line, for example, and I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I want to show this, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 5 on my number line. And in doing this, I'm going to do a closed circle because this symbol here means greater than or equal to. So the 5 is included. That's what doing this closed circle shows, that it's numbers that are going to be greater than or equal to 5. So 5 is included, and we just draw an arrow in the direction of the numbers that are greater than 5, for example. So this is how we'd represent an inequality. So x is greater than or equal to 5. This is the information we're showing. And just a reminder, the closed circle means that 5 is included because we have a greater than or equal to. It can be equal as well. Now, let's look at another one. Let's look at x is less than 8. So I'll draw the same number line. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now let's look at how this changes. So here, I'm no longer including the value of 8 because my x is less than 8. It's not less than or equal to, it's just less than. So I'm looking at kind of everything on this side of the 8. And I show this by still doing a circle, but instead of a closed circle, I'm going to do an open circle where this 8 is. And that shows me that the 8 is not included. And the arrow is going to point in the direction of the numbers less than 8. And that's going to be to the left of our number line. And I'll make a little note of this. So the open circle. So the open circle means that 8 is not included this time. So that is how we can define inequalities. These ideas of one thing not being equal to the other thing on the other side of the symbol. We could only say it was the same when we had the equal sign. So this thing up here. So we want to distinguish, sort of tell the differences between equations and inequalities. Now in the next video, that's going to be our final sort of extension video. And in that one, we're going to show you how to work through solving these inequalities. And we're going to chip away at them systematically in the same way we did with equations. But I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so much for watching.